So basically, I just want to show you a bit of walkthrough of the process of installing, the Luffy rig and getting it running. I would also be walking through the various bone collections and various sections that I have created for the rig. So first things first, if you go to the scripting, you see there's a Luffy end panel and the Luffy property tab. Basically, the property tab is this one. I was experimenting with different ways of handling the UI. So I recently discovered, if you follow me on Twitter, you see I recently discovered you could put it on the properties tab. So I haven't really experimented with it a lot, but I used it for the test animations. So it kind of worked pretty cool. Especially because you could dock this and make this into its own thing, and I just think it's pretty useful. But I also included the end panel as well for anyone who's kind of old school. So that's there. So basically, what do we have? We have the end panel guy. We have the properties tab. So let's go over everything. So first things first, we could start from the global position. You can see you can move it around. You could see you could move it around. It has two roots, bones. One for I like to use one for rotation and one for location. So that's how I like to use them. And you can see they also have global scaling as well. So that's pretty neat. I try to use double roots for all my joints. As you can see, the torso as well has two roots, so that's pretty handy. This one is locked to the rotation on this one is locked, just location, and this one has the rotation, so you could do some mid-air somersaults and backflips and all that fun stuff. So let's go over the rig. Let's start from the top. We could start with the hat. Basically, the hat has a root. For the root of the general hat, right? And then it has the secondary one, which just controls the hat without the string, right? And then we have the second one for the string. And I didn't want to go too deep on the rigging, so I just did a basic IK for the string with an IK for the string with two controllers, and I have tweak bones that can be scaled however you might want. I think that's pretty cool. You could do basically all you need with the hats, because it's not really like the main thing. Same thing for the hair. There's this hair root for some wind type animations, easy. And then you have the individual FK chains with tweak bones as well. So I think that's pretty cool. And next we have the head. For the head, we have the main head bone, which is this yellow bones for the head. Rotation, location, and the neck. I locked off the location of the neck because the neck has a spline, So I didn't want like too many neck motion going on, so the IK stays the spline stays rooted. So you have the square controllers are basically the splines, and you have tweaks as well, which is pretty handy. And then for the head, you have this lower controller for like head positioning and stuff for some kind of expressions. And you have this one as well, and you have this one at the center, right, for some pretty nice squash and stretch type animations. So next up we have the face. I could just hide the tweaks for now. So for the face, we have the eyes master, which can be scaled as well. We have the eyeball, which is the main eye, can also be scaled as well. And then we have the damped track, basic eye setup here going on here. We have our eyebrow master, tweaks secondary, which can be rotated as well. The scar has a shrink wrap to the skin, so that works pretty intuitively. The lips can be moved as well and posed. You also have a lip corner, controller as well. And now you have the expression bone. If you move it positive, I think, negative, and then you have the ability to scale for extra expressions. That's pretty cool. And then you have this for the mount master to like rotate and bend however you see fit. Then you have your jaw controller here. And then we have the tongue, of course. We have the teeth, with tweaks as well. The face has lots of tweaks. Tongue has tweaks as well. So everything's pretty, robust with the way it's set up. So moving on to the torso, we have the clavicle, for rotations. And then another cool thing I added was this pivot for the clavicle. It controls like half of the chest area here with like a simple IK constraint targeting this pivot without the stretch, of course. So it doesn't stretch, but it rotates for some because he's a pretty stretchy guy, so you need like a lot of controls, especially because of this shirt, because the shirt was pretty difficult to rig. So we have the basic chest rotations. We have FKs. We have the hips, the hip right here. We have the FKs as well. The green ones are the FKs. And then, of course, we have a pivot bone for the torso. So, what else do we have? We have a spline setup here as well. The square ones are, the splines. And these ones are basically for, like, let's just say another layer of control for the splines, basically, so you can get like the nice arcs, So I think that's pretty cool. And then, of course, we have the tweaks that can be scaled, individually as well, and rotated and all that good stuff. So, what else? We have our shirt. The shirt is pretty detailed. We have our FK chain, which can be detachable, right? And then we have the master rotation for every for every FK chain. And then we have our tweaks. And then for the hand, this pink bone over here basically has a dam track form for the shoulder of the shirt alone. It doesn't control the clavicle of the body, just for the shirt for some posing. It's pretty good to have this much control. You also have tweak bones, over here. You have bones here as well. And then this tweak sleeve, basically there's a dam track tracking the tweak bone of the arm, so it's pointing towards the center of the arm, depending on where it is pointed to. And then you have individual FKs as well. That can be scaled and rotated and positioned, however you might need. So that's it for the shirt. We have I don't know how to say this, but it's basically same FK setup, detachable as well. So that's pretty straightforward. For the fingers, I'm just going to show you one. We have the ultimate IK hand. Sorry, this is a mistake I made earlier on. When I was fixing up the shapes earlier, let me check the other side if I made the same mistake. Yeah, I did. So basically the triangular bone here is for the expressions, for the bone the easy posing setup, for quick fists and expressions like that. Easy stuff, pretty nice. I like it. And then you have the palm bone, basic palm bone. You have our FKs, standard, tweaks, standard, and then you have an IK setup for specific rotations. It's pretty intuitive as well. It's all a part of the ultimate IK hand setup that I worked on a couple months ago. So that's pretty cool. And then for the hands over here, let me check the switches. Yeah, so this one is IK is on here, so I'll turn it off here. Right now we have the IK and FK has the splines enabled, so you get the same stretching. You get the same stretching for the IK and the FK, right? But for the FK, you have to scale it up when you need to get the stretching, right? It's just basically intuitive. And then if you check over here, we have the same setup that we had on the chest. You have the normal splines, you have the tweaks, and then you have this master curvature controller. It's the CV. It's basically bendy bones layer that the splines are parented to, just so you have like a uniform arc, and then you can also scale this center guys on the hand. So I think that's pretty neat for easy posing, instead of like going into the individual bones, right? So and you can see it translates here as well for the FK. So that's pretty intuitive. The leg has a similar setup, spline tweaks and on all that good stuff, right? Pretty cool, pretty cool. Same setup. There's also there's a little more detailed on the hand. You have this bones that control the bending, the angle. It's pretty intuitive, right? I know it might look a bit confusing at first, but it's pretty self-explanatory. So what else do we have? We have the IK foot basic stuff. If you go to the parenting, you could you could you can make sure the 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 slides. You could kind of dictate what it follows. If you wanted to follow the feet or not for the FK or the IK. Okay, I think I have it here updated. I'll have to update the end panel as well to have these instructions and stuff. So you could say none. You could say not follow. You could turn on the foot, and you could play with it. So it's pretty intuitive. What else do we have? Another thing I would like to show is the lattice. The rig does use a lattice, so the lattice rig is somewhere here, I guess, over here. So that's possible. And what else? For the slides, you actually have controllers here for setting rotational needs you might have. I have some shape keys for some gear 2 animations. I have some on the arm for some other Luffy needs, I guess. We have various parenting setups here, right? We have locks, knee locks. It's pretty intuitive. You could tell it's pretty intuitive. The mount locks, head follow, neck follow, cloth follow, for the outfit, right? You have all that good mumbo jumbo. The IKFK snapping, arm follow, this follow slides. If you go to the render preview, you have outlines. The outlines are basically a geometry node instance. So it has its own setup here, that you can play with, for the noise and all that good stuff. You have the gear 2 effect. You have the hacky effect for each hand and limb. So that's pretty cool. And then you also have these this rim color that you could change if you want. You have your snapping section, you have your masking section. Pretty intuitive. I'm just trying to keep this as short as possible. So I think we're good. Basically, I mean that's basically all that I have to show. I didn't really go too much in detail because I don't want to ramble for too much. But this is gonna be available on Patreon. So if you're interested, you could buy it, and you could message, leave a comment on Patreon. I'll be sure to respond. So the shading is also here. You know, all the body and stuff has organized. Stuff for the tune shading and the rim effects. I couldn't like map it all to one driver because they use different thresholds. So you would have to like play with them individually, or I don't know, um, make it yours basically. So yeah, that's basically it. Catch you guys in the next one.